Aoife was a fearless Irish warrior princess who lived during the Iron Age more than 2,000 years ago. She was beautiful, strong, clever and brave, and loved looking after her many horses. So good were her skills with swords and spears, Aoife, then aged just 14, was given permission by her father to join the Red Branch Knights, the army of the King and Queen of Ulster. The knights fought many great battles and were feared by everyone across the Celtic lands. It is believed Aoife was born around 50 BC, approximately 2,100 years ago, towards the end of the Iron Age. If you look back through history, she would have been alive almost halfway between now and when Stonehenge was built some 5,000 years ago. Navan Fort, which is translated from the Old Gaelic name Eamon Macha, is not actually a fortress of any kind, but instead the site of a huge Iron Age temple that measured more than 40 metres in width. Built by the Celts in 100 BC, it was considered the ceremonial throne of the Uliad king, the King of Ulster. The Uliad tribe ruled over much of modern-day Ireland. As you can see from the map, Navan Fort was positioned in the middle of the Uliad's territory, and from the top of the hill you can see for miles and miles in every direction. As well as the temple, archaeologists also identified a series of roundhouse homes, many of which remain buried underneath the ground in or around the main site. Many tools and artefacts have been discovered and are now on display in the museum. It is believed that Aoife the warrior was born quite near Navan Fort, and maybe even trained her horses in the surrounding fields.
When I went to visit Navan Fort, I got to meet Aoife. She showed me where she lived and how she survived, then taught me how to fight like a warrior using shields and spears. That's me arriving outside Navan Fort Visitor Centre in Northern Ireland. And there I am meeting Aoife, who's going to tell me everything I need to know about life during the Iron Age.
Most Iron Age people only lived until they were 25 years old, if they were lucky. If you ever got sick or wounded in battle, there were no hospitals or medicines. To eat, families would scavenge berries from trees, grow vegetables, fish, or hunt for animals like rabbits and deer. They used basic tools to help them farm the land, cook, hunt, and make clothes. Entire families, some as large as 10 or 15 people, would all live in a small single-room brown house. A roundhouse is built by firstly using a series of tree trunks to create a sturdy frame. The walls are constructed using a wattle and daub technique, interweaving wicker tree branches before filling the spaces in between with straw, then covering them all on the outside with cow dung. Putting straw in the walls allowed the house to stay warm during the winter and cool in the summer. It takes 15 to 20 years to grow enough wicker to build just one house. A centrally positioned fire was a key feature in every Iron Age home. It was used for heating and cooking food. It was very important the house always stayed dry to help stop the wood from rotting. Floors would be covered in animal skins to help keep everyone warm and dry, a bit like we use carpets or rugs in our homes today. Meat and fish would be caught, then hung from the rafters in the roof to help dry it and preserve it for longer. Each family would make their own plates, bowls, and cooking utensils. They would bake their own bread, collect mushrooms, and grow vegetables like sprouts, leeks, onions, beetroot, cabbage, and potatoes. While mothers looked after the home and cared for the young babies, the men were sent out to hunt for food. Older children, aged 4 and up, would be expected to venture out on their own to gather berries, mushrooms, and firewood from the surrounding forests. A traditional Iron Age roundhouse was only about 7 or 8 metres wide. At night, families would stay warm by huddling together in the same space, sleeping next to the fire and using animal skins as blankets. The smoke from the fire would rise up into the roof, turning the wicker black. But family members were able to move around, eat, sleep and cook underneath the smoke, meaning the fire never needed to be extinguished. Can you make out the smoke line? Here, let me show it to you. Here's a question to think about. With lots of thick smoke everywhere, animal skins on the floor, fish and raw meat hanging down from the roof, and straw and cow dung in the walls, what do you think a typical Iron Age home might have smelt like? When the weather was kind, the Celtic people used the area outside of their homes. Most roundhouses had tall wooden fences built around them to protect the family from attacks by wild animals and other tribes. Families would set up fires, burning charcoal until it was white hot. This would allow them to heat iron ore so that they could hammer it into shape and make tools and weapons. This process was known as smithing. Children were expected to learn all these skills as early as possible in their life. They would practice smithing techniques using flintstone, making spears and basic tools like hatchets. As well as making weapons and tools, outdoor fires were also essential for colour dyeing cloth and wool. A large pot of water would be boiled on the fire. Then different berries and plants would be added to colour the water. Cloth and wool would then be dipped in the water, then dried by the sun, before being weaved into colourful clothes and blankets. It is thought iron ore shavings, tree bark, or maybe even steel animal urine was used to help brighten the colours and help the dye stay on the fabric. After visiting Aoife's roundhouse home, it was time to go to warrior school. Aoife and a brave warrior called Connor showed us how to throw spears, fight with swords, and defend ourselves with shields. We were told the mythical story of Setanta, about a young boy who became the most feared Celtic warrior in the land. There were also lots of Iron Age clothes and costumes to try on. You could even have your face painted like a real warrior using the blue pigment from an Irish woad flower.
At the end I got to practice my spear throwing. Here's my throw. I think it was pretty good. After warrior school, it was time to say goodbye to Aoife and Connor. But there was just enough time to have a look in the lovely gift shop for a souvenir before setting off home. It was amazing to learn about Aoife and practice being a warrior just like she was. I learnt a lot about life during the Iron Age and enjoyed exploring the museum and seeing inside Aoife's home. Navan Fort was amazing!